Just like one that'll fill the bottom.
Okay.
Were you able to locate a garbage can? There is one up in the stone barn. I'm going to swipe it before it goes anywhere else. And I brought just sterilizing the hive tool. And we flip it over. So I went away, so it was like 3 weeks before I figured that out. One was fine, the other one was not. So I don't know what happened.
And that was because you did not take the sugar, or you did take the sugar?
The one had a sugar plug. It was like what are they called? The plastic one?
Yep.
And one had a sugar plug. The other one did not.
The other one did not. Okay.
It was just hard covered plug. The Masaro Community Farm is a 57-acre piece of town-owned property. It's leased to the Masaro Community Farm for growing food. And as you can see, we've got quite a bit of acreage under cultivation. The food goes to a CSA, stands for Community Supported Agriculture, where people subscribe in the winter, and in the summer they pick up their produce. And another mission of this farm is the produce that's grown here, a percentage of it goes to local food organizations, such as the Columbus House down in New Haven, the Birmingham Health Group over in Ansonia, the Woodbridge Senior Services in town. So we give back to the community in many ways. And we have educational programming, like the one we're doing today on beekeeping. This one's a collaboration between the Connecticut Beekeepers Association and the Masaro Farm. We received a grant a couple years back to allow us to expand this apiary. All the yellow hives that you see behind me are a result of the grant. The grant is funding research in pollination, genetic diversity, and also running all of the education workshops here. It allowed us to buy all of the equipment and the supplies necessary to do these. But the farm also needs donations, so I do have a jar up front for a suggested donation of $10. It's only voluntary. But your generous donation helps keep these educational programming going beyond the limit of the grant that started this. So today we'll be opening up the hives. Ted Jones, the president of the Connecticut Beekeepers Association, is going to be running the show here. If you get thirsty, it's going to be warm today. We're going to be sweating. There's a cooler by the truck, and there's cups in the bucket back there with the bales. So feel free to help yourself if you get thirsty. And the other thing, if you did not bring your own suit or equipment, we do have veils back there in the box. If you'd like some instruction on putting those on, we can help. And what I'd like to do now, before I turn it over to Ted to start the show, is to go around and just get a level of experience so Ted knows how fast or slow to pace the workshop today. I'll start with myself. This is my 3rd or 4th year. I'm starting to lose track now. Beekeeping. I have 3 hives on my property right now, and 2 of them were just started fresh this year. 1 made it through the winter, and they're doing okay. It's been an uneven year, but they're doing pretty good. Why don't we start here and go this way around the crew? So we'll start here.
I'm Dick Brown from Bolton, and I have a couple years as an assistant to the primary beekeeper, my bride. I'll let her take it from here.
Let's see. Well, had 3 hives last year for the past 2 years. Lost those over the winter. So starting out with 2 hives again, which seemed to be doing great. Had Mark Creighton come out about 2 weeks ago, Connecticut bee inspector, and he said they look good. So I'm just here for more education.
Awesome.
Ståhl Hansen from New Cane, and just started out this year with 2 hives. Seemed to do well. Some problems in the beginning, releasing one of the queens, but after that, everything is going well.
Richard and Heidi Moore, about 5 years experience. We have 5 hives in Canton and 5 in Madison.
Great. We'll go right behind you.
Sorrel Sargent from West Hartford. This is my 3rd year. I've had a lot of problems. I had a bear last year. I had a swarm this year. They did make it through the winter, but and so I'm still trying.
Max Silverstein, live here in Woodbridge. My father and I have 4 hives this year, doing 2 top bars, 2 regular style. We did 2 last year, both top bar. Neither of them made it.
Hi, Marlene Sonati, Andy White. We're in Brantford. We had 2 hives. Last year we lost 1, and they did really well. So this year we had, I hope you talk about this, 3 swarms in that 1 hive. We kept 1, and another beekeeper took 2.
Very good. All right, we'll come up to you.
Sandy from Farmington, 3rd year, had 2, lost 1, so 1 hopefully still going strong.
Yep. I'm Bill Hesback from Cheshire. I have 4 hives, 1 at a CSA down the street from us, and a couple of hives in length strip boxes, and then a top bar.
Yeah, John Zapor from Torrington. I'm back into it again after I retired. 2 hives, and it's a learning experience because beekeeping isn't what it used to be, especially with the mites.
Yeah. And we'll talk about mites today for sure. All right.
I'm Jack Hale. I'm from Hartford. This is my 2nd year. Had 1 hive last year that didn't make it. Got 2 nukes from Jones this year, and they're doing fine.
Good.
I had Mark was out at my place this week and said things look good to him. So
Excellent.
I believe it.
Ralph Harrison from Milford. Got 20 hives spread over Milford, Stratford, Orange, Trumbull, and Shelton. Member of the Connecticut Beekeepers Association and the old Western Connecticut Beekeepers Association.
All right, we're going to jump back to Peter.
Peter McDonald from Orange. It varies from year to year. Actually, right now I'm down to 1 hive, which came from a swarm that I collected, which is across the street. And I got a couple of nukes on the way, and I'm going to restart again. It just things happen, so hopefully things will go better. It looks like it's a good year.
I'm Kathy Shupro. I live in Woodbridge. I had 2 hives. 1 died actually before the winter, and the other one seems to be doing well through no fault of my own.
Ed Serpent, Brantford. I got 2 hives that I started this year, and I'm new at it. I started about 10 years ago, and I could not get them to overwinter, and then I had some back problems, so that laid me up for a number of years, and I decided to get back into it.
All right, very good. All right, and if you're wondering what, there's not a gun battle over there. It's the Ansonia Rod and Gun Club. So the weekends are their busy times, especially when it's been so nice out. So that's what all that noise is all about.
Not this way.
Yeah, hopefully they don't point this direction. All right, I'm going to pass it off to Ted.
Okay. All right, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Going to have Ralph Harrison. He's going to help me out today. He's going to do the hive inspections, and he'll critique them. He'll see what's wrong or what's good. We haven't been in these hives, unfortunately, for 4 weeks, so I'm not sure what we're going to find today. Could be surprised. Could be good, could be bad. And then I will be doing some mite sampling, show you different ways to sample for mites. And while we're in all the hives today, they all have screen bottom boards. We're going to be pulling the bottom tray out and leaving it out for the summer now to rely on natural mite drop to keep the mites below. You know, with mites, we can't kill them all, but the idea is to stay below the threshold. And we'll be doing that when we do some mite sampling today. We'll talk about that. I'm sure we're going to be finding mites because the bees started brooding early this year, you know, in March, really brooding up. So lots of brood means lots of mites. So you should be monitoring your mites because you may have real big mite loads in August instead of September this year, and you may have to intervene whether you do chemicals or formic acid or powdered sugar. So it's something to keep an eye on. You know, good years for the bees are good years for the mites. So I guess with that, Ralph, we'll start out. Pick a hive. Everybody has to have a veil on.
reaction, let me know. I do have some Benadryl in my car, and that usually slows the allergic reaction down pretty good for me. So, if you're interested or happen to need it, let me know.
If you get stung in the foot, you know you got flip-flops on.
All right.
Okay, I think we'll walk over this way. Okay, sometimes the mistake that people make is that, when they first apply the smoke, they'll do something like this, and it doesn't really good. You got to get the smoke into the hive. Yeah, you have to let them.
Well, I don't know those you can order one of those. That would, it would probably be a good idea because there's plenty of free space without letting the rodents.
Well, I'm going to ask him about the because that hive is so depleted.
I'm going to need a honey super, huh?
I think so.
Do we have them down here, Ted?
Yep.
What a problem we have.
Yeah, this is his name. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Then never. Well, because these are like okay. Yeah, okay.
Well, the bees always like to hear this nice big crack as you it's sort of like knocking at their door, just to let them know you're coming. Yeah.
Have you come over here to your right. Stand. Keep going. And one thing to keep in mind, I know you clear me on this, is not to stand directly in front of the hives, because that's where they're going to be coming in and out. So it's best to stand to the side.
Okay.
Some bees in there.
How heavy are those supers, Ted?
There's a little honey, not much. Looks like they're just starting to work on this one. Don't forget, for almost 2 weeks there was no real honey flow going on. It's just kicked in the last 5 days, at least in my area.
Okay, as you all know, as you go into the hive and you start pulling frames, you want to pull from the outside in. You never want to pull from the center or second or third one in, because if the queen's there, there's a chance of rolling the queen and doing damage to her. So we always start from the outside. And you got a little bit of nectar here. Usually on the outside frames, the bees don't really do too much unless there's a real strong flow on. Then they'll fill it up wall and wall. Again, bringing in lots of nectar. Nectar. Okay, got a nice. Then we got brood. Pretty good looking brood pattern. Look down the bottom, you can see eggs. Then you got chopped brood up here. Look down in, you can see the white larvae. And If you look over in this area, very, very good. You can see eggs in the bottom of the.
You can see what?
You can see eggs.
Oh, eggs.
A good pattern would be one that's centered in the frame.
Oh yeah, center in the frame, and without, you don't want to see a whole bunch of missed cells. You want to, ideally, you'd like to have her hit, every cell and put an egg in every cell.
So did this hive start on comb, or did they grow the
No, this is all foundation.
As you go through your hive, what you want to look up is you want to sort of keep an eye on the frames you haven't pulled out yet, okay? And when you see the bees starting to line up, like they're in a race, like the start of a race or an Indy 500 or something, you want to.
This one's maybe there was
hit them with a little bit of smoke.
There's hygienic behavior, which we want.
Again, most important, watch where you put your fingers. I find that, if you work without gloves, you're
You want a picture of
more
this
aware of the
for your
bees.
camera?
Again, nice solid root pattern here.
This is all honey up here.
Looking good.
Are you looking for the queen as you do this?
Yes.
And this is larva, brood. This is out of the brood
in
nest.
my own hives,
These bees will be emerging after 21 days.
basically, this time of year... you
Egg
have
to
to-
emergence is 21 days.
So, what I look for is,
Okay.
is eggs, larvae. If I see eggs, if I see larvae, I know I've got a queen, and you pretty much judge the queen by the brood pattern.
Typical brood.
Because if you look for, if you go looking for the queen, you'll just drive yourself crazy. Not only that, but by the end of the afternoon, you'll also be cross-eyed.
Yeah, it's swarm cells forming in this box.
That way it won't spoil.
More than likely, they would probably be in this one, but not necessarily. I mean, they could be anywhere. Again, swarm cells would be along the bottom. Okay, supersedure cells would be like mid-frame.
Ralph, did you point out the drone cells? That one's got on the top on the other side. There. It looks like.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're right. I missed that. Drone cells here look like the ends of 45 caliber bullets.
Over your shoulder.
They're fuller, bigger, rounder. And this is what the Varroa really like. The Varroa like the drone brood because it is larger and it gives them more room to do their devious acts.
The light off the bottom.
Is anybody here a freeze drone brood?
See an egg. It looks like a hair. Small rice.
This would be where you have you can actually buy
it is hard on this frame.
a frame of plastic foundation
Later on, we'll see if we can find a better one.
instead of like this being embossed.
There aren't
here,
that many
it's
eggs
embossed
in here.
drone brood inside.
She's been here and all
Put
done
that in,
laying.
the bees will just build a solid frame of drone brood. Okay? You leave that in, till it's all capped over. Alright? This is when it's capped over. Just before it gets capped over is when the mites will move in. And then you pull the frame of drone brood, shake the bees off, put it in the freezer. You're going to kill all the drones in there naturally. But you'll also kill the mites. And then you put it back in and the bees will clean everything up. And, you can do it all over
See if we
again.
can find a better frame.
But that's a couple of days usually.
What time of the year do you put that in? Do you put it in now or in the beginning?
Yeah, in the beginning. Yeah.
So it's too late to put that in?
No, you can do that now. Yep. Yeah, it's
I just didn't know you had trouble
Passed around, just put it in the middle, or what do you do?
I usually stick it over on the side. I've only got 2 hives where I've done this. I leave it off to the side, and they seem to be fine with it.
Anybody else want to do here? Not very many eggs. We may find a better one with a lot of eggs.
You're talking about a frame.
The green.
Yeah, the green. Yeah, usually they're colored green. It's a green. It's a green plastic, and it's just that identifies it as just being.
So if you froze the spray,
gotta watch it.
Wouldn't matter.
Damn.
Yeah,
It's patched because then you just
Looking good.
Oh, really beautiful. This is what you'd like to see. Yeah, almost a full frame of solid brood, all capped over.
This thing's going to get big.
Yeah.
If you use one of those green drones, if they have a green drone frames, do you put it in a certain position in the...
I usually place it like the second or third one in. You know. Some people put it on. It doesn't really matter a whole bunch.
Doesn't matter top box, bottom box?
No, not really. No, just as long as the queen's laying.
Yeah. Because I had one in there for 2 years and they never did anything with it. So
Really?
I really? Yeah, never interested in it at all.
You can buy it.
Yeah, just do that. Yeah, but not many, but I just thought maybe I'd increase my
Put it in the freezer and kill all the drones, but also the mice. So it's like a mite trap.
I have somewhere.
I haven't tried it.
I haven't.
It's a great idea.
And when you're put your green one in, you have to put it in where
So on that side of the where he is.
Okay, this was, probably at one time this was all brood. I know the brood is hatched out, and, use it for honey storage. You see it just inside.
Yeah, I didn't know he was there.
Yeah, you should be behind.
Nah, because the bees pretty much decide what they want. Then in the fall, as supplies get short, the worker bees, the females, will force the drones out, and I don't know. I don't think anybody knows how they decide who stays and who goes. But actually, some drones will stay over winter.
They spend this spring.
Again, there's a nice queen in here. You got drones drone brood along the bottom.
What is that pattern that I see?
Okay, you can see.
What is that?
So they need that extra.
Is that just dry cells?
Usually in the drone colony, you have
Where's this here? Yeah. Okay. This is capped honey.
Look at that.
That's capped honey. It's
I don't know that I've ever noticed that.
They've done this. They've reduced the moisture in it, and here the moisture content is perfect. So they, they've sealed it now. And this is what they'll live off over the winter.
Kind of like aging a fine wine.
That's it.
It's got to be just right, and then they cap it.
Usually sort of in a mild state of doing it, not being my most observant self.
What type of bees do we have here?
These are, they're Italian based, but they're Minnesota hygienic. These were packages from Louisiana 2 years ago. Some of them are New World Carniolans. These are a lighter bee.
Yeah.
But remember, the breed mates with 20 drones, so you're going to have a mixture of light and dark bees for workers. Nothing pure, because they were open mated.
What type of queen?
This type of mouse garden we leave on all summer because there's still enough holes for them to get in and out.
And winter too?
Winter too, yeah.
Those
Especially
little
in the
wooden
winter.
reducers, they should come off this time of the year.
Yep, take your reducers off. You've got wooden ones on.
Yeah.
They should have come off probably the beginning of May.
Even if you've hived a new hive?
Yeah, well, it depends how big it is. Okay. Once you get 5-7 frames of bees on the bottom, they should be able to defend the entrance on it themselves. And the mice are not looking for a place anyway. The only other thing you would use an entrance reducer for now is robbing. Let me take that for you?
Yeah.
Any swarm cells on the bottom?
Nope.
This is where you look for swarm cells.
Yeah.
In there.
Yeah.
What are we looking at?
Yep, that's good.
Looking for
What do you look at?
Swarm cells, you'd find them on the bottom.
Yeah. What you can do is you only have to take your hive
Well,
apart.
when we find one, we'll show you. I can describe it. It looks like a peanut.
We must have had them, but we didn't know what to look for.
Yep. We may find one here, or we'll find the swarm.
Well, Yes, you can, but once bees have in their mind to swarm, you can either split the hive, make yourself another hive. You can, if you really want to stay on top of it, what you can do is you can cut out swarm cells, but you have to do it at least every 12 days, okay? And what you'll wind up with is a huge population of bees, okay, which will, in turn,
Dead
make you
bees aren't
copious
good.
amounts of honey.
They don't like that smell.
You get probably 100 pounds or better from the hive, but you have to go in like every 12 days, and and also this time of year, as your hive is becoming more crowded and these bees want to swarm, naturally, there's going to be multiple swarm cells, and you have to make sure you get every one of them, because if you don't, half your bees are going to leave, and that's half your honey.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I usually, on mine, I usually try and do that with a few of them, and usually I have at least one hive that, I missed one swarm cell, and I went into one of my yards one time as I'm driving down the dirt road to the yard, there's a swarm, nice big primary swarm, this way, and passed over me, and I sat there, and it's not good.
So if you scrape off your cells, swarm cells, and how about if you put the box?
Yeah, in July. Oh, that's thank you. But
do what you can. You rotate your boxes in the spring. But even if you add a lot of boxes, the queen pheromone is only going to go so far. Okay, when you have a huge amount of bees, and that's what actually induces the bees to swarm, is the transfer of this queen pheromone. And it becomes less and less as you have more bees, because pass from one bee to another, it's just becoming more diluted and more diluted.
I have a question about the swarm cells.
Yeah.
You said earlier that they already made up their mind that they're going to swarm.
Yeah.
So if you get rid of the swarm cells, are they going to swarm and then leave you without a queen? Should you try and get rid of the swarm cells with the chance that they might swarm anyway, or does that prevent them from swarming?
That would be up to you. I mean, you can take, if you have a hive that's, naturally a hive's going to have multiple swarm cells. You can split that hive and turn it into 3 hives. Yeah.
What do you mean by split exactly?
Okay, take 3 frames, one with a swarm cell, one with pollen, one with honey, and the bees attached. Start that in the nucleus, which is the little half-size beehive, the green one over there. Put it in the nucleus box.
Okay, you can't just put it in a normal size
Well, you could, you could, but it works out better in a small one. A small one. That queen will hatch out. You want a mating flight, and you started, another hive. You can actually cut out the swarm cells itself, and just introduce that.
The thing you got to be careful of, if your swarm cells are capped, don't go cutting them out, because they're still going to swarm. They've already made their mind up. And what you're doing is you're killing your replacement queen. Now you'll end up with a queenless hive. So the best thing to do at that stage of the game is to split it. At least split it in half. And that may reduce the chance of swarming, and then later on you can merge them back. But a lot of people make that mistake. They cut the capped cells out, and then a month later they end up with a queenless colony.
Because they'll swarm with their
Yeah, once they're capped, they're going. They're going to fly. Nice new comb.
Yep. That's the old queen cells.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what happens when you have a hive where you have 3 swarms? There were that many queens that they made?
Secondary swarms. So there's some virgin queens that hatched out, and they felt as though they're still crowded, and those will be smaller.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, my first year in beekeeping, I had 1 hive, and I had 3 swarms out of it. And somehow, I was able to manage not to let the thing swarm to death, and it miraculously, I don't know how, but it did survive through the winter, But
So depleted.
Some hives will just keep swarming and swarming.
No, that was my first year of beekeeping, and they just went,
And I have a lot of
You didn't have enough equipment.
Okay, that's all right.
Well, that's another thing, too,
Have you found the eggs yet, or larvae?
I haven't looked. I only put her in, a You know?
A week ago? Okay. You probably could check now. You know, once you find it, just put everything back together and let her work for a while. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit of everything.
What can also happen as the queen mates, you know, she mates with multiple drones. And naturally you're going to get a variety of semen. And the genetics of that semen can also affect the temperament of your hive. You know.
You could have a calm hive and all of a sudden it could
Yeah, and all of a sudden, you know, you could have.
And that's when you have to requeen it. Now you see a lot of black bees in there, so we got a lot of mixtures, which is what you want. You want diversity in the mating.
Instead of a calm hive. One member will go through a Texas.
Yeah, well, the queen is in that upper box.
And it may have just hatched out. Now she's in the process of
laying down here.
Yep.
Again, we have brood, we have larvae. Don't see any eggs on this one.
So does the queen typically go from the top down or the bottom up?
She'll go both places, wherever there is room.
Yeah, wherever she finds room. Lots
In
of
the
room
spring,
down there.
in the spring, she'll be on the top. That's where she should end up. And eventually, when the top gets filled, they'll push her down.
They'll push her down.
Yeah, or you can reverse it.
Yep.
Basically, now they'll start backfilling the top with honey.
Yeah.
That's going to be their winter stores.
And that'll cause her to go down.
Keep her down on the bottom. When the bees are running out of room, or when they're bearded on the front, or if you have white wax on the top of your top bars on the top box.
Yeah, if you have bird comb on your top bars.
I mean, this one has one box on and another box of foundation, so you don't want to put more than one box of foundation at a time on. Otherwise, they won't draw it out nice.
Yeah, what happens if you put two boxes of foundation on, they do what's called chimney. They'll just sort of like work in the middle and go straight up where you want them to, go lateral. So don't be in a big rush to.
And you would always pick
honey supers now, or just the regular hive?
Regular hive bundle.
On your honey supers, when you're going to put a new one on, you put it underneath the one they're drawing.
Oh, really? So you put the full one?
Oh, yeah, because all your wax builders are in the brood nest, so you want it as close as you can to the brood nest.
Interesting. Okay.
And now they've already been working on the upper super, so they're going to walk through to get to the upper one, and they'll get going on the new foundation quicker.
So you don't use queen separators anyway?
No, we don't.
Now these bees are pretty good as far as propolis goes. I mean, you get some bees that, they'll just propolis everything.
My bees do
And
that's all right.
It just is a little stickier. It's okay. But
Could you talk a little bit about when you do leave honey on for the winter, 50 pounds is what's recommended, is that correct?
No, we like to see 80 to 100 pounds in the
Yeah.
80 to, no wonder.
That deep box should be full.
yeah, you want to leave yourself a margin. You're better with too much than not enough. You know.
So you leave 2 brood boxes and then honey super on top?
No, the second box should be full of honey.
Second brood box.
What we do in some of our bee yards that are off the beaten path, we'll leave a box of honey on top of 2 deeps. This is a reserve because we won't be able to get in there till spring.
Yeah, you're always better leaving too much on.
Well, maybe maybe not the honey. Maybe you had mites. You treat for mites.
I was treating for mites, yeah.
What was your mite count? Did you happen to check?
I did not do a mite count. It was the first year.
When did they die? January or in the spring?
They were spring.
Big cluster?
February, and all of their little beehives were up. All the heads were down.
Yeah, that means they starved.
They starved to death.
They did.
Yep.
And, I found honey in that top super on all 3 of them.
The only thing that could have been if it was a small cluster and it never warmed up enough for them to break cluster to move over to the honey.
Okay.
That's the thing about small clusters. If you get a real cold winter, they can't break. That's why we always depend on the January thaw. That's when they break and move. And if we don't get that, and you don't have a big cluster, you could, you may lose your bees unless you get in there to move some honey around.
But you can have bees, like a half an inch away from honey.
But they can't break clusters.
They won't break clusters, so they'll start up to that.
So do you want to get that body?
So So in that case,
Put the
would it have
hive
been a
back
good
together.
idea in a warm day to feed them in March?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta have a little smoke over here, so I don't crush them. You want to put that on there?
Yep.
So you never swap your two bottom peaks? Just keep them as they are? Or
This time of the year, no.
No. It's just like, the new beekeepers, I know no one wants to squash your bees, but it's going to happen. It's just, it's something.
You might have got one.
All I can say is
it happens.
All I can say is get over it.
It's hard to get over it.
Because when I've had my first hive, I was out there with a bee brush, and you brush them off this side, and they run back up this side, and
And when you brush them, it makes them angry.
Yeah. And then after you're stung a few times, you say, "So, you just slow it down." Yeah.
So we have two hive bodies here, and both of them have brood in it. And they're building this hive up. When do they start that transition where they start filling the top box with honey? Is that in the late?
Whenever the honey flow starts.
And
This
then
year it started. It started and then it stopped. Remember May was cold and wet?
Yep.
And then June was even worse. They had honey up top. They were bringing it back down because they're raising tremendous amounts of brood and they need a food supply and they weren't getting out for it.
All right, how do you know when the honey flow starts? You go in and
you go in and you'll see it.
You see it. You got to see it.
Yeah. And you'll see a lot of flight, a lot of bees coming in. You'll see open nectar everywhere. You start seeing white wax. When you start seeing white wax, they've got a good carbohydrate supply coming in and they're building wax. You'll see it. The box starts filling in. Right now there's a flow. It just kicked in like in the last 5 days up my way. So, okay. If there's no questions for Ralph, we're going to move on to mites.
You see me smoke my elbow here. I got stung here. What you want to do is you want to mask the scent of the sting, So hit yourself with some smoke, Same thing.
Right after you get over it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Notice the tiny
All right. We're just going to put this on here for a moment. Okay, just keep it on for now. I've got a frame here. I've checked. There's no queen on it. That's the first thing you do. There's 3 ways we can take a mite count. One's with our bottom board. And unfortunately, I didn't get down here 3 days ago to treat this one. And this is going to be dirty. Look at all the debris. Okay.
Good. Ralph's right there.
Can I use yours? I should have been here earlier to clean it, and that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So you start out with a clean board, clean as you can get it. And you would spray Pam on here. Some people use Crisco, but it gets rancid after a while. Pam's the best. It's in a can. You just spray it quick and easy. You can carry it in your toolbox. You're going to put this back in for 72 hours. And mites naturally drop. They fall off the bees. Come back in 72 hours, you'll count your mites and divide by 3, and that'll be your mite drop. Naturally.
Easy access.
Now what we're going to be doing today as we go into hives, we're going to pull these out for the summer. Because mites naturally fall off, so that's going to help keep the mite load down. They're 6 inches off the ground, so they can't get back up on the bees. So that's one way to count mites.
Ted, when you said count the mites, you don't count all of them on the whole sheet?
On this I count them all, because they're going to be in rows. Because when they fall, they're going to stick.
Okay.
So they're going to be in rows, in line with the frames. They can't crawl. All right? So we're going to leave this out today. Although I will put it back in, and if we have time, we'll do a sugar dusting too. All right, you can walk off. Okay. The other two ways are an alcohol wash and a powdered sugar. Now, a lot of people don't like the alcohol wash because you're going to kill your bees. But that's the most accurate way to get a count for mites. You need 300 bees, which is a half a cup of bees. 1 tablespoon of powdered sugar, and we're going to do this, and we'll show you. I use a Rubbermaid tub to shake the bees in. It's just easier to round them up. Okay? So what we do, let's see, I think I'll use this for my stand. I've got a frame already. I've inspected her. And I'll inspect her again. Make sure there's no queen. Because that would not be good. And it has happened. Theoretically, we should have went in and found a queen, but because we're on time restraint, we're going this way. And what I'm going to do, get 300 bees for each test, and then we'll do this test separate. So I need that there, yeah.
You should find yourself in a situation where you absolutely have to positively find your queen. What you can do is you can take a hive body, put an queen excluder on top of it, put an empty hive body on top of that, and run your bees down through. Then the worker bees will go down and leave your queen on top of the excluder.
Now the way I find a queen when I have to find it, and it works about 95% of the time, you just lightly smoke it, you take your 2 deeps and break them apart and separate them. You never start like up here looking for the queen, because all she's going to do is run, then run on the bottom. So get them separated. Wherever you find eggs, that's probably where you're going to find a queen 90% of the time. And if that doesn't work, then you do like Ralph says. So
How do you put the queen separator on and then
an empty hive body on top of that.
On top, and then you shake
the bees down in it and smoke them down into the lower hive body.
Okay, for the powdered sugar, you just need a mason jar or canning jar. Instead of having the lid in there, you put a piece of window screen. Okay? And we're going to put 300 bees in there with a tablespoon of powdered sugar. This you buy in the catalogs. They were made out of Canada. Randy Oliver, if you go to scientificbeekeeping.com, he shows you how to make it. You use a soldering gun and you weld 2 lids together with a screen in there. But if you want to buy them, they're available in the supply houses. So what we're going to do is do a quick shake here and get some bees. The way you shake a frame, you hold your fingers like this, and you sort of bounce it. See how my thumbs are up? Alright. And get a scoop. And that's it. Cover up. And put these back up here. Alright. Alright, here's the first one we're going to do, the powdered sugar. And,
there's a cup in there.
Yeah, I need a little spoon. Okay, tablespoon, 10x sugar. You know, it doesn't matter. There is a tiny bit of starch in here. It's not going to hurt them. They've done the research on it. Some people say it does, but the research says no. All right, dump that in there. Now I'm just going to keep rolling the bees. They get covered in the powdered sugar, and what happens, the mites lose their grip and they fall off. Do this for about 2 or 3 minutes. And they're buzzing away, and it's okay. And you get a napkin or something white. I'm going to keep shaking them.
While you're shaking, Ted, I got a question.
Sure. Go ahead.
On my hive, I've got a super that's pretty full of honey.
Yep.
Top box that's doing pretty good.
Yep.
And an empty bottom box. Should I put another super on because that super's pretty full?
Yeah, the honey super?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would, because they're going to be looking for places to put nectar.
And they won't put it down into the bottom?
You don't want them to put it down in the bottom.
Okay.
You want her to get down there and start laying eggs. So
Okay.
yes,
Super.
put somewhere for the nectar to go. Because the nectar's coming in, yeah.
So how does he get her to go down?
They'll push her down.
Just push her down, okay, because mine's like yours.
Yeah.
Like I say, it's been a funny year. It's only been, nectar comes in for a bit and then it stops because it gets cool and wet and then it starts up again. They'll push her down.
I don't know if we can go look. Maybe that's why we have a chimney problem. We might have put it on time.
Ted, you do this test for each hive?
No, we only have one.
When I go into one of my yards, say I have 15 hives, I'll pick 3 hives.
I don't think we're ready for a super.
One in the middle and sort on the end. Take a sampling. If I don't find mites, I'm okay. If I find mites in 1 or 2 of the hives, then we treat the whole yard.
You know you got to build
Otherwise,
up the
you
colony because
never
they
get anything
swarm.
done.
Can you put a super anyway?
But if you have 2 hives in the backyard,
Well,
sample
I
them both.
actually caught a swarm and split one this year.
Now, what does this
and
tell
then
you that
just
the
last
72
weekend I
hour
added a second body. Because they've grown to the point where they need
bottom
it.
board with the cam on it, and
We'll
it's
see how the
2 hours.
summer goes.
That's a natural drop.
Does that
I
make
wouldn't put
any
another
difference
super.
if you do?
No,
you
it's
only have
just
to do one or the
until
other?
the top
Yeah, it's just
box
another
was
way of sampling.
pretty full, like the 6-7 frames are pretty good. And then do
The
a super
alcohol
on top
wash
of
is
that.
the most accurate.
Although a lesson that I learned the hard way
But
is
you
that
kill your
one
bees.
year I harvested my
I'd rather
honey
lose 300 bees in a colony.
about this time of the year because it was a really good year.
Okay, I guess it's been
And
3
the rest
minutes.
of the summer was dry.
Right?
Nectar flow
Anybody been
stopped.
counting?
so
And my
you-
whole hive
Okay, now we're going to
starved
just shake it
by
like a
October.
salt shaker.
Yeah. Okay.
So this year I'm going to leave the supers on until September.
I got 1 mite.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
That's it, just that little black dot. Huh?
If you have a what? I take a queen excluder and put it up there like a ramp, and then they'll sting them on the belly and they'll leave. That's what queen excluders are good for.
Really? Oh.
Yep, 2. All right, we got 2 mites so far. So if we had 3 mites, that would be 1% with 100 bees. There's another one. So now we got 4. Everybody see them? Anybody not see the mites? Yep, little specks. Of course, the wind wants to blow them away. Right here.
see, yeah.
Dots.
All right, I'm going to put these guys back in.
About the size of those mice. Fourth green.
No, they're alive. Now remember, we had ghost bees now. Okay, we had what, 4 mites here now.
They're heavy.
Let's see what happens.
How do they get that stuff off of them?
What's that?
That sugar
They'll
stuff?
clean it off. Everybody will lick it off.
Yeah. I don't really see bees on top of bees yet.
Going right in.
It's like,
Okay, here again.
How much alcohol do you use there?
Just so enough the bees are covered. Yep. And now we're just going to shake it for 2 or 3 minutes. What this does, it causes the mites to regurgitate and it lets them come off the bees. They fall off. When you see mites on your bees, you better treat.
Okay.
If you can see them, you got a pretty heavy infestation.
You see the mites. You're talking about lots of mites on lots of bees.
Yeah, if you
or
see lots of mites on bees.
Yeah, but if you see 1 or 2, you might see that.
You might see that, yeah. That's when you would take a sample and see what you got. I guess you can leave that off, Ralph. We got time for powder dusting, or?
We ought to.
Yeah.
We ought to demonstrate at least once.
All right, I guess it's been 2 or 3 minutes, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
They're drunk.
Make a liar out of me, huh? 1. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, we got 5. I'm going to pass this around. Just look on the bottom. You'll see the mites. They're all in a group.
Oh, okay. What's your magic number?
Well, 5 mites would be 2%. Okay? You get up above 6 or 7%, which would be 14 mites, you probably should think about treating.
What do you use in your yards, Ted?
I use the formic acid.
You do.
If we need to treat. I'm trying to, if I don't have to treat, I don't, because with a lot of hives, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
When you're requeening or something like that, you're breaking the brood cycle, and usually that keeps. It all depends what the number is. And the bees are getting more resistant to mites.
They use it for chickens.
If you only got 2 hives you want to treat, you can treat, but we try not to treat.
Yeah, I just have mine are about this far apart.
I mean, especially in the fall.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to do the bottom box first.
He hasn't gotten back in.
No, but
I guess
all right.
Okay.
It's 1 cup of sugar per brood chamber, 10x. So I guess we're going to take that off again.
So you normally would not have treated this hive, or you would have?
I wouldn't treat it, no.
You wouldn't, okay.
What do we have, 2%, 5%? Yeah. About 1.5%? Yeah. It's not bad. But I would keep an eye on it. I remember when in the end of August, when the brood production cuts back, the mites are going to go up.
Okay.
Why is that?
Because there's less brood, so the mites will leave the brood area and they'll hop onto the bees.
So you're going to look for mite trap here too.
Where do you get those bottom boards that's so easy to put that in?
Pardon? What's that?
Ted sells them. Oh, Ted sells them.
Yeah, I sell them.
Ted says thank you for asking that question.
Do they have a special name? Bottom
Yeah.
boards that make it easy to put.
Ted, you were talking about the
country
mite
rube.
count on the bottom.
Country Rubes bottom boards.
Is that the
And Ted's a reseller of them up here in the Northeast.
Yeah.
You can also find them online at other suppliers, but since Ted's local, it's a lot easier to get them right away from him.
Well, it'd be 6%.
Oh, you're right in the neck.
Well,
Where's
we
the
take ours up.
Take everything apart. Oh, no, no.
No, you say divide by 3. Yeah, 12 would be 4.
What else is it?
Okay. Okay, what we're doing here,
That's on 300 bees, right? You have that
I put the board back in just so we can catch some mites, but you don't have to. Just dust it and let them fall on the ground. And it's 1 cup of powdered sugar per box. And we use this screen. You can make one at home. I don't know if anybody was at the meeting in April we had with Janet Bryson, who's the maker of the bottom boards. But they came up with this now. This screen keeps the bees from flying in your face, and she donated it to the Masaro farm to our yard. It just makes it a little easier.
That would be a good idea.
You want the screen to be up a little bit off the hive body there.
Yeah.
So they can throw a lot of
This is better.
Or it can
Yeah.
be flush.
Something else I did, I had picked up a bunch of storm windows, because I was making cold frames, and they came with window screens.
So you use those.
So I hold the screen above
All
the...
you need is window screen to make a frame. You can make it yourself.
I mean, it requires more hands, because I have to hold it and brush it
So number 8 Harville cluster.
at the same time. But
No, number 8 will be all right, because the bees can't get through number 8. I guess they just had window screen that's easier to get. Number 8's hard to find, I think. I've had a hard time. You always have to buy a roll of it. Or if you buy 2 yards, they really soak it for it.
You might also end up just dumping the powdered sugar right through the bigger opening.
Yeah.
Spread around.
All right. Now, we'll just go like this. Get it all the way down. Got a lot of ghost bees already.
Are they happy?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, they're all outside.
Yeah.
Do they not like it?
Now we're going to do the same thing again up here. Now, if you don't want to treat with chemicals, do this every 2 weeks. And check, take a mite count too.
Every 2 weeks all summer?
Yep. Because remember, mites grow all summer. I mean, that's the whole reason behind this with the powdered sugar, is to get away from chemicals, hard chemicals.
So by the end of summer, if you've done this every 2 weeks,
Your
your
mites
mite
should be
count
under
is
control.
down and
You should be under control.
should be okay.
What happens, we have people buy the bottom boards, and they treat once, and then they go treat in the middle of September, and they got 1 million mites. And it's too late. Then you got to intervene with something else if it's not too late.
You definitely want to get all your mites knocked down before bees go into winter cluster.
And that's when September.
Well, when the temperature, drops below 50.
The more informed you are, the better you can manage it.
Yeah, right. Less mites, more healthy bees. Okay, now we're going to wait about 10 minutes. The other thing is, the warmer it is, the better the sugar works. At least above 70 degrees. All right, so we'll just let this sit for a while. Are there any questions?
That little slot you have in that cutting.
Yeah, this is the manufacturing for ventilation. Okay, when you put your cover on, you always push it forward so the air can get out. You know your winter cover? Yeah. Always keep it forward. The flat side's down in the summer. In the wintertime, you flip it over. So if you want to put a pallet patty or something on top, you got the space. You got to put the